Yake och satini dekat Johan gunil chish wuchinach sati. Ja, kreat ge awa adat yuch at ḥundatín. Good sa wutua art wutua poch ḥundatín. Yijich hallu guk adasa. Ja, adat awa yutuch watangia yagi. Ja, ach llilko has ani de ḥundatín. Norway you do a sock. Ochoe Ḳukahaa you do a sock way on. Ochoe ḥundatín ja ach ish du tla du ish. Ka ach ish du tla du tla. Aka away. Gwell Elkadain Chasaku 1898 gwell giwe 1903. Has to ani dach alta you do a sock way on. 18 aya Ḳukahaa dakka ani. Alta koa eight ka. Away we yak klein ayektewe has wokoch. Wat sich uwa has to in chusati ayegugink. Ade has wokoch we 18 kanach. Jagud 18 yadu a Pacific Ocean yilt uch you do a sock. Atlantic ko a Lingít sa kusti. Awe a kanachoe has wokoch New York City ade a gastin ka yikt. Seattle de has wokoch. Jaguda yak yikt Seattle dach. We de shoot de has wokoch yechoji. Aka we hechwasaku wasa hasa yawadla ko ade tekada ade. Tukak watu ada ya achlil ko has ko ya koe has wushwood de sha ya achlil ko tank. Has ya de ḥundatín yag. Anna Spain gwelgiwi do a sock. Hu away. Wooch has a cow the gate. Wooch gate has ḥundatín ya ḥukahaa ach ish du ish. Tim Twitchell you do a sock. Du shukwa yuchatangi oe yuchten. Yupik aya you do a sock. Yeah away. Oslo a de ḥundatín like Oslo de away ḥundatín. Aka away. Ḳukahaa wutien gwell nasgiagi chanach. Aka Tromso a de ḥundatín. Aka Ḳukahas wutien dechiagi. Aka alta gwell Witatsu dechiagi. Aka kuchte de huj. With Kuyao de hai gwell talk iti. Akatchatse okak. We Swedish TV a kayekwati. Gwell yaktu ya ach kidaka ak ha kidaku uwu. Hastu ye away Goldtown Nickelodeon. We Kuyao de hai dakahiti. Gwell yak aya kawakshi yegachtu sene. Elkadain Chasaku. Ye awa ka achtu yake we Yis Kendrick Lamar at Sheik we daku wakat. Kanachoe ach gukikta we ye wutien. Chak we ya tatsu achtu ausagu kwa achi. Public Enemy you do a sock. Ajoy yakudas ye kwa u. Achtu ausagu a gate hoskidi. One kanins. Ya katua saku ya hayu katangi kahakosti ahu shuhihi has to in ya cook koshagal ya ach kakayitin ka ach ijini gunalchisha kaiti sa achi hucha achi katangi Gwalli tuasagu yiki watani rebel without a pause.
Kadaya?
Oh,
We Cajun Ayagi, Vancouver, Gach, Quagoat, Kishgood,
ḳudatín.
Ḳukahaa, Achkla, Wooch in Achkla, Doctor, de Quagoat Hospital, de, we Doctor Yeyawaka, Huashi, Tech Kajunask Yagi, we Hospital Yeti, Achka, Ka, Itinahayati, Dech Yagi, Itach, Vancouver de Yeti. Yeah, Yachiti, Yeti. That's
Oh,
yeah. Stay for a short amount of time. Yeti, Yachiti,
Echigi chanach yakquache.
Yakwahe. Achaya. We hotel Hajiwu, we Dalkun Yogi. Kish, we Dech Yagi Yanach. Kekinach. Itinach Hayati Hotel Pedishu Yagi.
Oh,
As Dalkun Yagi Hajiwu. We Taylor Swift concert at Cliff Hotel. We Ḳukahaa, Vancouver, Cliff Hotel.
oh, oh.
We Kwashi Cliff Kajudech Hotel Dutuasigu we 1200 Donna we Cliff Higi Achaya. Cliff Wasiku Dasa Gachtune Kwashi Ḳukahaa, that's a future.
Quawus.
Aqawus, Art. Kwashi hat we nickname good.
Iguayachwan.
Jeez.
Swifties. Hasa shaushehik.
Kish Achtua Ushku Swifties.
Iti. Oh, what's that do sago? Oh, Jadusa do Tosago Yukatani. Gayati. Asai Kakakwashi way. Taxi. Oh, Achtosago Yusatini. Adaye Jitunayan. Tiyakutan. Khatka. Kakashan. Atlain Yisa Kowe Tutleich. Yadu taxi. Jiddu K. At Wudu Kucho at Guashiatayach. Jiddu K. E.T. Ka. Guashlewe hotel room. Jiddu K. E.T. Ka.
That's a Jaduke.
Well, Jiddu K. Well, maybe it wouldn't be Jiddu K because that's like paying someone to work. And so the verb root K is to pay for something. So then you might have Duke itika. Because I don't know, I've always looked at, because you can say he's, but that's really to borrow. And so I'll have to chat with some speakers, and if you folks are in touch with speakers, maybe see what they think about like renting something. Because it's like you're not you're paying for it and you're borrowing it at the same time. So okay. Anyone else want to say anything on Lingít? Okay. Any language questions you folks have?
Might be a big one. So I don't want to derail class. So if it's a long thing, we can just skip it. But if you're looking at just like the book of themes with imperfective stems being unpredictable, is there a way to look at the book of themes and work out which way it needs to go?
That's a great question. And no. And so I don't understand. Someone said that they think there's a pattern to imperfective stems. And so the problem is the imperfective stem in both the positive and negative form are unpredictable as far as we know. And so you just have to remember it. So for example, an imperfective, somebody give me an imperfective verb. Could we think of one? Aha, like they're eating it right now. So that's short and high. And you just have to remember that. And so as we go through, and I don't know what else to say other than that, which is kind of a difficult way to go about it. Let's see. So let's just look at
The
some,
way it is sometimes.
yeah. And so like if you go down, so the only ones that are going to have an imperfective are going to be state verbs and act verbs. Well, I guess positional verbs will as well. And so here's one, hate. Let me make this a little bigger. So, but this one has this little X here, which means it doesn't change. So then you say ʻatudli.átk and ʻaduwóos'i. And then also, but in the negative, it's going to be the same. So that's nice. Like when you see a verb like that, like I don't wish they were all like that because I like stem variation. But if you see this little X, then that means the verb stem shouldn't change. So if it's marked, however it's marked right here, so this is marked as long and high, it will always be long and high. And if we go above it, here's another one, ḥeik. And so that one is also, so it doesn't change. So then you'd say ḥeik, ḥeik. You could actually say ḥeik. This is one of those verbs that has a positive, negative, and then an antonym. So ḥeik, lucky, ḥeik, not lucky, ḥeik, unlucky. And then I know that there's xa, so we could see what that does. So this is an act verb. So you say xa, it's short and high. And then in the imperfective, also short and high. Okay, so you just have to, that's just sort of, for the time being, when you look at a verb and you want to sort of ingest it into your brain, let's say you learn a new verb, right? We want to learn a new verb. What you're going to look at, say, is there an object? Is there a subject? Yes, yes. We got to remember those won't go away. What's the classifier? It's a zero group classifier. It's going to be zero most of the time. It's going to be ya in the positive, perfective, and also in the potential. It's a zero act. That means in the perfective, especially, I want us to focus on the perfective as we wrap up our semester. It's going to be short. It's going to be long and high. Right, it will be long and high. And then I think the negative perfective will be short and high. Right, so xa and ха. But then we also have to remember all that stuff, right, which is challenging. It's challenging to look at that. But I do believe you can start to categorize this stuff in your brain. So when I started to try and figure out how I would remember this stuff, I made a big spreadsheet of the verbs that were documented at that time, like fully like this. Then I've got them organized by classifier group. I got them organized by conjugation. And it's the same list, but it's just sorting them. And then it sorts them into the conjugation type, and then it sorts them into, I think those are the two main lists that I would look at. So here we've got another act verb, to nail something. Say, oh, well, I want to learn that verb. Like, you're going to hammer something in. Like, you want to nail it. Nail this to the wall, right? So now we look, we say there is an object, there's a subject. I have to remember that, especially for the third person. It's going to be ʼaduwóos'i, right? That's what it should be. And then I also want to be clever. When someone really gets the right answer, I could say ʼkaisuhu, you nailed it, right? Which is fun because you're using like an English sort of like, I was driving my kid to school today and a song, well, I was trying to listen to my album, but then I was like, okay, Kendrick Lamar is a little too hardcore for me and my 13-year-old daughter to jam out to right now. So let me put on the radio. And the song was saying, Ach gweithli tuye chadyati. That's what it said, but it said it in English. And so, Ach sikayach wawus dasaway. Ach gweithli tuye chadyati. What? And then it came on the radio and they sang it like, I'm in my bag. Does anybody know what that means? I'm in my bag. Just checking our connections to the current generation.
I think it's like you're doing well, you're working hard.
That's what I thought, like Dana Achjiu.
Yeah.
But according to the Urban Dictionary, it's I'm in my feelings.
What?
But I can't confirm that. That's all. I asked my phone. Well, I asked my phone to, because I was driving and I was like push the button so the phone would listen to me, although it probably always listens to me. And I said, hey Siri, what is I'm in my bag? And the response was good morning. So, I was like, this is not reliable. I'm gonna start saying this to like young people. Hey, I'm in my bag. I'm in my bag to you too. And I was like, no, that's not it. And so, anyways, back to the question. Object, subjects there. It also has ka. That has a thematic prefix. That's going to affect how the verb gets put together, right? Because now I'm going to have kaisa and akausa and these other things, right? Kauchse. It's an S group classifier. So that means in my mind, this is my recommendation. You should be thinking the classifier of this verb is sa. And sometimes it'll change to se. So think of it as sa, and then it changes to se, especially in that positive perfective or the potential. U, 0. So it should also be long and high in the perfective, short and high in the negative imperfective. So if we open this up and take a look, at kasaku, nail it. And so we're nailing it onto something. So you could say, Nadak kat kasaku, nail it on the table, if that's what you're doing. And then we have akausaku and kesh akausaku, predictable. Open 0 stems. So what I'm saying is there's no consonant at the end, and it's a 0 verb. It's going to be long and high in the perfective, short and high in the negative perfective. This one doesn't have an imperfective. Okay, fine. You're not a great example for me for this. What else? What about, do we know the verb to dry something? Everybody know what the verb root is?
Yeah, something with Gwaine.
Gu is to wipe something.
Is it like hook?
It is hook. So we'll go look at hook. Oh, look, this is an act verb. Has an object, has a subject. S classifier hook. And this is 0, so I should expect hook. they dried it. And ḳukahaa, they didn't dry it. That's what I should expect. I don't know about the imperfective. And here it is, long and low. You just have to remember that. Ashuk. And it's just one of the things that we haven't figured out yet. And that's like this is predictable. It should be hook and hook. We should know that. And if you do the, without even scrolling down, we should get ʼaduwóos'i and ʼaduwóos'i. So the first one being long and high, second one being long and low. ʼaduwóos'i, ʼaduwóos'i. So what we can learn to do is we can learn to, like, so this is ʼaduwóos'i, right? So you can also say ʼaduwóos'ín, they will see it. You could also say ʼaduwóos'ín, they will watch it, right? So this is a pattern that you can learn how to build and predict and change this single class. Like, so to say I am going to fly, ḳundatín or ḳukahaa, depending on what comes before. But you're going to have ģuhdatín. Just like this if you took the A off of it and changed the S to a D. So these patterns will become very predictable. Don't worry about making mistakes. And then the stem variation is the last part that we sort of talk about. And when we start talking about moving the verb into these certain modes on your own, then this is where you need to sort of like internalize a lot of these rules. And we start with the perfective, I think, because I think it's the most used verb mode. Because you always talk about stuff that happened, right? Stories. Let me tell you about what happened to me the other day, right? And then the future is the next one, I think. Okay, I don't know if that answer, there's no answer to your question, I don't think. You just have to remember. Until we
I have,
something else. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just curious, the conjugator, on the conjugator, there is the negative, the imperfect has the negative and the positive together. Is there a reason for that? Like, is there a reason that I'm not aware of that they're together? Like on the same sheet?
Well, right now I have the negative perfective and the negative imperfective together, but I'm realizing that they are different.
Okay.
And so there's going to be another edition of that coming out probably over the break that will separate those two. And I can't remember how I figured out. There was something I did where I was like, oh, that needs to be separated. Because for a while I thought that's the same prefix, right? But it's actually not.
Okay. I was just wondering if I was missing something.
Yeah,
Okay.
that hook verb might even give us an example of that, maybe. So we have ḳukahaa and ḳaduwóos'i, right? So there it is. And so I need to separate those. And that's a bummer because now it becomes like 20 pages longer. So.
It'll be like 100 or 300 pages long now.
Well, yeah, I don't know how long that thing is, but I do hope it's useful to have those so you can look up those verbs, because then if you look up the ʼaduwóos'i, right, for now, while you're learning these rules, when you look it up and you say ʼaduwóos'i, okay, so that's they dried it. So now if you go to the conjugator and you go to the perfective section, what we're looking for is zero conjugation S classifier. So we're going to scroll down here. Here's that. And so now so now we know that the stem is hook. ḥwasahuk, watusahuk, yisahuk, yisahuk, ausahuk, or umsahuk, wadudsahuk. Now we can conjugate that verb. And what we can learn as well is, oh, I know this other S classifier verb, ku. And that's also a zero conjugation, right? So this shows you, this says for this conjugation, the stem should be long and high. for example, say I ate it, to eat it all. I ate everything that was there. Yachwasecha, yachwatusecha, yachyisecha, yachyisecha, yachausecha, or yachamsecha, yachwadutsecha. So, and then there's another one, ku. Chwasaku, watusaku, yisaku, yisaku, ausaku, or umsaku, wudutsaku. So then we might say, oh, well, there's this other verb that I just learned, which is to drive the boat or the car, right? So I know how to say ʼaduwóos'i, they went there by boat. But what if I say they actually were driving the boat? So now I want to go down to na, ga, and qa, because this will be a na conjugation verb with a s classifier. So here it is. So I'd say ʼadechwasakuch, I drove there. ʼaduwóos'i, 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 or umsakuch, ʼaduwóos'i. And this one is long and low. So the conjugator, like the idea here is to get all the rules so you don't have to sort of like remember them or say them. You just say, I just need to know the conjugation prefix, the classifier, and the verb mode that I'm looking for.
The open, closed, and high, that's referring to the stem? Like to expect on the stem? Okay.
Yeah. So if we go, so then if we go into the book of, we go into the themes book, and as we start looking at verbs, let me go down to just the, okay. So stem variation, this one is invariable. It will always be dusk, right? That's what it will be. It will be short and high, and we're always talking about this vowel. The vowel right here is what we're talking about. So as we go down, so this one, and this is also closed. So open and closed just means, is there a consonant or is there a vowel? This ends with a vowel, so it's open. There's no little h, and this is a zero verb, so we should know. We're going to say dak, uwada. It's going to be high, long and high, right? Same with this one, right? And then as we go, we'll just go look at other verbs. So here's one, to cook something in a pit. This is na conjugation. This is closed. So we should say ʼaduwóos'i, long and low, right? And so there's a set of rules here. And for the perfective, it comes down to there's zero verbs and there's everything else. The zero verbs, for the closed ones, they want to be short and high. Everything else is long and low in the positive perfective. The open zeros are long and high. Everything else is long and low. And so the thing that we look for as we look through these, like these are all open, closed, invariable, 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 invariable. And then this, if it's marked high, it will not go low. So that's the thing.
All verb stems that are marked high will not go low.
Because for this one, so to here you say to snare something, right? So because it's a zero, I should expect the perfective here to be ʼaduwóos'i, ʼaduwóos'i. And this is to snare like set a little with a little string or something. It's a string-like thing for smaller like birds or like they would go for some of the smaller like rodent-like things. And so, but I would expect it, so I'd say ʼaduwóos'i, but I would expect ʼaduwóos'i, right? It should go long and low. Every closed verb root in the negative perfective wants to go long and low. But this one will refuse, and they'll say ʼaduwóos'i because it stays high. So this one stays high, this one stays high. ʼautadís, for the moon to. The moon was shining, it was mooning. That was a good question. It's a complicated question. Yeah, Lingít has a number of things where it's like, you just have, it's like this set of stuff you have to remember. And then as you sort of like, I think as you build those
You
categories,
should drive there.
what's that? Oh, as you build those categories in your brain, then you start looking at those verbs and saying, okay, I have to remember this part, this part, this part, this part, and now I can use that verb.
Yeah, I mean,
Altogether,
oops. I was just going to say it's good to listen to the language too, and then you're not always doing math. Like you just start to get an ear for it, eh?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. And you'll start to hear those things, and then like you'll reckon. And what's wild too is as you'll some of us we would talk to speakers and they'd be like, I don't know what you're talking. We would talk about suffixes and conjugation prefixes. Like, don't just like get them talking, because then as you listen to it, like, yeah, they're doing all of this stuff. They just do this stuff without having to think about it, that's our goal.
Our team has started transcribing some of our things that we're working with Keishi on, and working on the ʻatudli.átk piece, and then working on the Keishi piece. What I've realized is that I'm really, really accustomed to hearing Keishi because she's done most of our recordings. And so I understand her a lot better when I hear other speakers. I'm not as accustomed. I need more variety.
Yeah, which is yeah, I guess if we go, let me see. It's off topic, but I just want to say AI has not impressed me with some things. I was in a meeting and I was like trying to find patterns for weaving. We had this idea of making a logo with weaving patterns from Lingít and Hawaiian and Ojibwe because we have this joint project. And I thought I could find close-ups of weaving patterns and then sort of redraw them, which has turned out to be difficult. And so I was like, well, maybe like stock photography has stuff. And so I just entered Hawaiian weaving. And then it gave me a picture of a guinea pig wearing a Hawaiian shirt. So okay, what am I looking for? So I'm going to see if this stuff is on our class page because I think it is. Yes, it is. Okay. So I do think it's extremely valuable to listen to a lot of different speakers because it's really good to learn. I think it's really good if you're fortunate enough to learn from one or two speakers and you learn so much from them. But then I think you need to sort of like train your ear to hear how other people are speaking Tlingit as well. So I do think this is our class webpage, tlingitlanguage.com, Learning Tlingit, Advanced Tlingit. And as you scroll down through this first section, which is a bunch of resources, one of them says Tlingit kachit katishhiti. So what was written from a person's mouth. And if you click there, this gets you to a whole bunch of Tlingit audio. So as you go through, and some of this stuff, there's not really a finding guide for it. And so this second link here, so this is just Tlingit audio that I have collected. And then this one is Tlingit audio that is what we call the Downhauer collection. So it says the box of things that Nora Downhauer and Richard Downhauer wrote from people's mouths. And this is like 500, almost 500 recordings. And then it does include this finding guide, which I think is really useful. So sometimes you can go through here and you could just browse. Like, okay, here's Susie James telling this story about Na Shachan Kawu, Raven and the Box of Daylight. Oh, that sounds great. I want to listen to that. Buckle your seatbelts because she's a very fast talker. But this says item 18, but what you're going to go look for is tape 17, side A. So going back to where we were, these are organized in folders. So here's tapes 1 through 30. Scroll down. Tape 17, side A. And let me share the audio just so we can get a sample. play it anyway. Might take a second.
chú thằng nó khờ nó có tác ăn cái khách sạn thiên quốc và chú kia ta chun vậy cái cái khu cái cái là cái chỉ khu quốcว่าอยากท่านเขาเทียบติดเกตตาว่าจะอัดให้ในข่าว
Yeah, and on and on. And so, but you can listen to that. The other thing you can do with the finding guide is if you open it in something other than this window, which I don't, maybe you could, like let's say Dennis. Oh yeah, so you can search for things. So here's my great-grandfather, Bert Dennis. And here's Tom Peters. Like you might say Wooch. Oh, look, there's a, and then you could look at this. So Zach Jones deserves a lot of credit for he did this wonderful project where Alice Taft digitized this, which is wonderful. Zach Jones hired some speakers to listen to this collection and write down a summary of what's on each tape. And now we can look these up. And Nora marks down how I recorded it. And so there are some recordings that were from Gillian Story and Constance Nash. And so wonderful stuff. And so one of your jobs is to surround yourself with the language. And I think sometimes it's good to do it in ways where your English brain knows what's there. So we've got the recordings of Hush. We've got the recordings of, so another place you can go is you go to curriculum, and then you hit this Tlingit curriculum folder, and that takes you here, where this is all the stuff that I have collected so far that has to do with Lingít. That's not an audio or video recording. So there's lots of handouts.
Do you have recommendations for speakers who would be good to listen to kind of at this stage of where we're at that, not that would be super fast, so we're kind of catching a word here and there, but that we might actually be able to understand more?
Yeah, and so I would say if we go into, so this is the Tlingit curriculum drive, go down to Shkashnik, and then once you're in Shkashnik, go down to Hashuka. So the textbook, Hashuka, this is a lot of the recordings from those, so you can read along with it, and you have a translation there. I think the Amy Marvin stuff is great. I think Duk Toot is great. I think Kotz is really good. And then I like the pacing of Robert Zuboff and Cyril George. They're just very deliberate. The pacing, I think, is very helpful for learners. And then you have like you know what they're saying. And then you could do sort of passive listening where you've got this on in the background while you're doing your chores or driving across town or whatever. And your brain already knows the translation, but you're continuing to listen to it to help your brain put those pieces together. And then you can explore the collection and find a couple other things to listen to, just to say, well, I wonder what this speaker is like. I wonder if I listen to this, what I'm going to understand, And so for me, it's a bit of a balancing act between like working on your confidence and just like hearing the language that's around you, but then also trying to make sure that you're listening to new things too.
Good shish.
Okay, we gotta do one verb. We'll try and do one verb. So this is whenever I teach advanced Tlingit, we always get to this. So this starts off with object and subject combinations, and then it moves to moving through the modes, like especially the perfective and the future. We really try to start thinking about those two modes. So you're burning new pathways in your brain. Whenever you learn a new language, it's got to find like these new neural pathways to it. There's a neuroscience to language learning, and there's also like a lot of healing elements and other things like that. So we do sometimes gotta just sit down and do some drills. So here is your survival card for this exercise. And maybe what I'll do is try and zoom out a little bit and take a little picture of it and drop that picture into the chat. At one point I had sort of like a pocket-sized version of this, like on a business card, but it was very tiny once you get it that small. But like learning how to change, so in the blue, this is who the verb is happening to, right? To whom the verb will happen. And then the red is who's doing the verb. The green are things that also affect, so that it's green because it's in the preverb. But this can also be, you know, part of the object, maybe indirect, right? And then this and this are also, this can affect the object or the subject. This one, I guess the same thing. Usually this one's affecting the subject. So we got ḳukahaa, yi, 0, but switches to if these two are in combination. So if you got third person object, third person subject, the object will switch to Qa or q, ut, and then sh for the self. Х, t, I, y, 0, and d. So let's just try and go one at a time. I think there's 9 of us all together in the interest of time. Other times when we go through this, we will like make an order and we'll all go in the same order every time. But can someone tell me, we're using them as a singular third person and them all as a plural third person. So how would I say, I love them? Wait, just singular, right?
I love them sing. Oh, ḵukahaa.
Everybody say ḵukahaa. And then I love them all.
ḳukahaa.
Yes, ḥukahaa. I love you.
ʻiqsahan.
Ixsahan. So we're also, like if you look here in the middle, this shows you all the things that are there, and then you could see how they're contracting. Oh, what happens here? This letter A drops out, right? This, no contraction, no contraction, contraction. I love y'all.
Yisachan.
Yichsachan. I love people.
ǩusahan.
Say it again.
ǩusahan. No. Kus.
We gotta have is in there.
ǩusahan.
That is it. Ḳukahaa. Okay. I love something.
ʻatudli.átk.
Yeah, and that one might not make a whole lot of sense, like the logic of, you know, I love something. Like, I don't know when you would say that, but this is purely a grammar exercise. I did all of these with George Davis. It was very fun because we did them. And what you're going to see is these are all first person subject changing the object. Then we're going to go to first person plural changing the object. So we go from х to t. So how would we say we love them?
ǩusahan. Do
Tusachan. So now we've gone ch to t. And if you look at it, that's the single change. Ch changes to t. The rest of it stays exactly the same. We love them all.
Ħastusahan.
Ḥastusahan. We love you.
ʼatusahan.
Itusahan. We love you all. Yitusahan. We love people.
Tusahan.
One more time.
Katusahan.
Ḳutusahan. Yeah, oh. So we have three things here, but nothing there. You cannot contract ḳ. You can't contract t. And then you si also. Whoops, I raised my hand. I should have gave myself a high five. Okay. We love something.
ʼatusahan.
Yeah, oh. ʼatusahan. So now we went from ḳa to t, changing the subject. What are we going to change it to now? When we got to, we switched to you. You're the lover now.
Isahan.
Yes. So you love them. Isachan. Isachan. It's got to stay short though. Isachan. Okay. So this is a 0 and a I. You love them all.
Tusahan.
Has isachan. Yeah. Well. You love me.
ʼatusahan.
Chat isachan. You love us.
Is it isahan?
It's got to be
Or is
ha.
it isahan?
Ha isachan. Okay. Okay. Right. And so it's like you got these two wheels, and we're like really trying to get what's on these two wheels: the object, the subject, the object, the subject. You love people. What's it gonna do?
ʼkisahan.
Qisachan, right? So q and I will become qi. Qidzati. You are living your life. You love something.
Tusahan.
At isachan. At isachan. So we went from qa to t to I. What comes next? For you all. It's gonna be y.
Isahan.
You love them. Yisachan. You love them all.
Tusahan.
Has yisachan, right? If this was timed out with the right number of people, someone would always get has, and they would have the easiest job. They just like throw has in front of whatever someone just said before them. Okay, one time, those of you who take classes with me, you know, sometimes I like to do this thing where like, name this thing without repeating it, right? Like birds or sea animals or whatever. And we did body parts. And someone who, if I remember right, I think they said, I didn't take beginning Lingít, but I want to take a class with you. Can I take intermediate? So I was like, well, watch these classes and then hop on in. And so they came in and they knew some stuff, but like didn't have these like big lists of things that other folks have been building. And someone whoever was to their left or whoever was to their right, because we were going to the left, any body part they said sha. And it worked out really well because they said q'eq. And then the other person said q'eq sha, fingertip. And then when they came around, the person said ki. And they said ki sha. And I think we all caught on to what they were doing. They were just putting sha on it. So then when it came around, the person next to them said hlao. And I was like, it'll work, but someone's on to your thing. So, okay, so now you all love them. You all love them all. You all love me.
Kat isahan.
Chat yisachan. Yeah, we're going to keep that vowel short. Yeah. You all love us.
Hayisachan.
Hayisachan. You all love people.
Ďakujem.
Tuyisachan. This, it does go long here, which is interesting. Like it can't contract, but it gets pulled long here. Like I listened to him say it, and yeah, it's tuyis. But if you said tuyisachan, I think it would be fine. But you love something.
ʼaduwóos'i.
Tuyisachan. They love them.
Asachan.
Asachan. Yeah. They love them all, or they all love them all, or they all love them.
Asachan.
Asachan. They love me. Chatzachan, right? So with this one, we have to remember that the third person subject is always unmarked. Sometimes when we start learning Tlingit and we start really getting into like changing these, our English brain wants to put something there. Most people will put like duh right here. They'll just throw something in there because their brain says like there needs to be something, but there's nothing. They love us.
Asachan.
Hasachan. They love you.
Isachan.
Isachan,
Isachan.
which is the exact same as you love them. So there are situations in Tlingit where what we have within the grammar, you'd have to do some other work. They'd be like, wait, do you love them? Or do they love you? Right? And you can do that with the ergative marker. So you could say, what H isachan. You're the one who's doing it. They love you all.
Asachan.
Well, that would be they all.
You all. Oh, you all. Yisichan.
Yisachan, right? So this one has to be long. Yisachan. If you all love them, yisachan. They love you all, yisachan. They love people.
Ďakujem.
Kusachan. They love something.
Ďakujem.
Atsachan. They all love me.
Ḥatzichan.
Has chet sechan. So with the hus, this is something I do this all the time when I'm speaking Tlingit. I will say chet has sechan. So you have to remember, hus is out there like it's a different planet, and the object pronoun is a moon. This is a planet outside of that. Okay? And this can be helpful to remember for all of these. They all love us.
Hasachan.
Has hasachan. They all love you.
Has isachan.
Has isachan. Yeah, away. They all love people.
Asachan.
Has kusachan. They all love something.
Ďakujem.
Has atsachan. Yeah, away. And some of this stuff when you're doing these exercises, and like what I'll do is I'll put what we've gotten to up on our class website so that you can, if you want to review these, you can go through them again. And I think it's helpful to just do this over and over and over. It's very mechanical, but I think you just start to put those things into your memory so that you can recall them later. So we did ch, t, I, y, 0, hus plus 0. So what's the last one that's left is du. Du will push any non-zero classifier to always go plus D. You can't say dusechan. It has to go to dudzechan. So, I might have just given you the answer. They are loved.
Dudsachan.
Dudzechan. Yeah, well, let me change something. Okay. They all are loved.
ʻatudli.átk.
They all are loved.
Oh,
Hasditzachan. Yeah, away. I am loved.
Dudzichan.
Yeah, away. There's your positive affirmations. Look in the mirror. Chaditzachan. Chaditzachan. I am loved. People love me. But, don't go wild with it because you might, I think it's a nice thing. Maybe don't say it publicly. We are loved. Hadidzechan. You are loved.
Dudzichan.
Ididzechan. You all are loved. Ididzechan. People are loved.
ʻatudli.átk.
Ididzechan. Something is loved.
ʻatudli.átk.
Ididzechan. We did every object-subject combination. Well, we didn't do I love myself, you love yourself. We outside of that's bringing in the extra sort of reflexive. We love each other. Though you could say those would push the classifier to also go plus D. So you could say woosh tudzechan, we love each other. Woosh yidzechan, y'all love each other. You could say, or woosh yidzechan is what it should be. Chush chudzechan, I love myself. But that doesn't necessarily mean I practice self-love. That if you said it publicly, people would be think that you're in love with yourself. Kind of an egomaniac. So be cautious with that. And so the next step for us, and I'll put these next 4 slides up and then we'll sort of wind down this portion of it. So thinking of these verb components that we've talked about, and we've gone through a bunch of this stuff. We didn't go real hard on the classifier yet. We didn't go into stem variation yet. We'll do those next semester, but we're going to start talking about them because I feel like with these two especially, you need to start looking at verb modes in order to really get how they work. For example, this is a positive perfective verb. To put something into a perfective, you need to have y in the conjugation spot. That must be there. These are your only classifier options. It has to be ya, di, si, zi, shi, gli, shi, or j. Has to be plus I. Okay? For your stem variation, 0 open verbs will be long and high. Na, ga, and qa open verbs will be long and low. 0 closed verbs will be short and high. Na, ga, and qa closed verbs will be long and low. So that is stem variations telling you what the vowel is going to be, and it is extremely predictable, right? So this is why you say ḳukahaa, ḳuata, high, low. This is why you'd say hot ʼuwagut and wede wugut. It is predictable. It's one of these things. It's nice when you learn it because then you'll know how to do that. To use a perfective, that's what you do. The other part of it is changing the subject, changing the object. But then, now you know these other parts are there and they have to be done in a certain way. The negative perfective, you have to have klesh in the preverb, however you say it, klesh, klesh, hesh, tish. You have to have the irialis and the perfective marker, which tend to just blend together. You must have a minus I classifier. So 0, da, sa, sha, sha, sh. Those are your classifier options. 0 open verbs will all be short and high. And then na, ga, and qa will be long and low. So ḳukahaa, ḳukahaa. All closed verbs want to be long and low in the negative perfective. Future, you have to have k if it's g conjugation in the preverb, and you have to have ye if it's g conjugation. That is why you say tsu ye ʻkhudatín. All those parts are there. Everything is there. It's extremely predictable. You have to have ga, qa, which creates a bunch of different but predictable. They're predictable, but they're long prefixes. The classifier must always be minus I, and the stem will always want to be long and high. The only thing that changes with the future negative is you add klesh, and the stem goes long and low. Cake kwashat, I'll catch it. Klesh cake kwashat, well that one stays high. So klesh cake kwashat, that was a good example, but it's also a bad example because it shows you that K has to be there. So one, adequagut, kesh adequagut, right? Is, isn't, is or will, won't, that kind of thing. Okay, that's it. That's a lot. It's very technical, but like if you can internalize this stuff, I could show you any theme. Like we could just pop this thing open. Here's the book of themes. Let's go to the K's. Here it is. So with this is a 0. So I should be able to say, kiss. They turned off the light. And then I could also say, keys. I'm going to turn off the light. And I could also say, kiss. Turn off the light. You okay? Any questions about any of that stuff? I know it's a lot. End of the semester, just like smoosh it all in.
What's the difference between a theme and a mode?
So that's a great question. So the theme is this. It is the way that we write the verb to present all the information to you. It has an object. It has these 2 thematic prefixes. It has a subject. This is an L classifier. It is keys. It's a stem that always stays high, closed and high, right? And it's a 0 event verb. So the theme presents, so it's basically saying, if I give you this information, you should be able to use this verb in any way you want to. The mode is now saying, let's put this in the command form. Let's put this into the perfective, into the prohibitive, the future. Those are all what we call verb modes. So the verb mode will dictate like what you need to do with this information. So if we go grab a different one, well, this one. So we know this verb. like we know it, because we'll say qayqi, sit down, right? And so we know that it's qa because it's in that command form, right? And then I could say guksa yiqaqtuqin. Where are we going to sit? And you have to have ye in front of it because it's qa conjugation. Okay, I said I'd stop, but then I didn't stop. Other questions? Okay. Hold on. We'll probably only get a couple of sentences out of our story. We will finish this next week. We have to go high-speed mode, and we might end up with, I'll just give you the answers. Like, we'll see how we do. So this is where we left off. Let me see what I want to do with Elon. I'd like to have maybe this one open. Yeah. So this shows us how many, each of these dots is a sentence that we have left to do, or like a line. So he went to the water, so he spilled the water, then he crawled over to the water's edge. He was going to dip this water container down. You could feel that something was there, and he thought it was like a boat. That's where we left off.
ʼatudli.átk. ʼatudli.átk. ʼatudli.átk.
He says ket twice. We're only going to write it once.
ʼatudli.átk.
5 words.
ʼatudli.átk.
Anybody know what the first word is?
Isha.
Something like ishi.
ʼatudli.átk.
Let me try to slow that part down.
ʼatudli.átk.
I do think it's Yesu. But it comes out very fast.
ʼatudli.átk.
What's that?
Catch?
Close.
Okay.
Correct.
Say to eat.
Gets us to the verb.
Watan?
So if we look at that, we have ka, yu, 0, ya, tan. That must be a 0 conjugation verb because it's in the perfective and it's short and hot. When you have ka and yu and ya, that combination gets you ewa. That's where you get, there's just certain shifts that are very predictable, and then there's a couple like sewa and ewa. Like we just have to remember when you have ka or sa, followed by a perfective, followed by a ya classifier, you will get ewa and sewa. Akatchat sewa kak. It's right there. Yuchewatan. So, translators, what happened?
Yeah. Yesu? Is that like suddenly, just then?
Well, I think it's just, I would say now.
Yeah.
Now it spoke to him, or then it spoke to him.
Okay.
ʼatudli.átk. 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 أيقظه إلى دقة أيقظه
Say it again.
أيقظه.
أيقظه
Where are we gonna qaku?
Yeah.
يخ.
Oh, is it yek? Yek.
The committee will accept the consonants. The consonants have been accepted. What vowel do I need? It's not an A.
Ayech.
Not an E. It is short and high.
Alright.
So there's only two options left.
You. Hyphen?
It's not a. This okay. We've narrowed it down.
Okay, I high tone. Final answer.
Can I buy a vowel? Oh, those are so expensive. Consonants. Give me a nickel. I'll give you one. Okay. Okay.
إلى دقة أيقظه
So luckily, it's said twice. So that leaves us with
إلى دقة أيقظه إلى دقة
okay. Any parts of that we recognize as far as translating? Ayichkaku, yudayatuka, ayichkaku.
Get in it?
This would be how you command someone to get into a car or a boat.
I thought it was yek.
Yeah, is it
Yeah.
yek changing?
أيقظه إلى دقة أيقظه
So you can. So this is like with. I'll put this down here. So we know this as yik, right? But it can become yikt. And if it. Oops, that shouldn't be an exclamation. If you go with this, it'll knock out the K. And this will as well. It's just something that, I don't know, this goes under the book of, it's in the book of exceptions, right? And so we have the book of rules and the book of exceptions. And so this means, it could mean that you're going along it. And so you could say yik, because you would say a yikt wunuk. They sat down in it. Or a yikt uwagut. Or you probably say a yikt wugud, right? And so then you might have a T on there. But I think I'm hearing yich, a yich qaku. And what that really means is like get in and you're going to have to move along it somehow or something like that. You dayaduqa. Dayaduqa.
They told him? They told them?
Yeah, or maybe it is said to him. Get in.
الدق ناقد دقني عاد أحققه ناقد دقني عاد أحققه الدق.
Okay, well, we could certainly write these down, but I'm going to jump ahead a little bit and say
دقني عاد أحققه قد دقني عاد أحققه
Niade. I hear that in there. Das niade.
ناقد دقني عاد أحققه
okay, I'm going to shorten this.
دقني عاد.
So niyade is in there.
Dich. But that's also yech.
Ich is in there.
قد دقني عاد أحققه
There's some sort of movement like goo, something like that. Can I listen to it again?
قدرني
ʻaduwóos'i.
قدرني
The back towards go. I don't know what the is.
So ʻakaku is walk along it.
Oh.
Niade is one of these like Swiss Army knife type of words. It's got a bunch of different things. Like when you say niade, it could mean the next one over. It could mean in that sort of area towards it. It kind of, when it's a contextual thing. Yina, it could also mean like get in front of it, block it, shield it. It could mean any of those things. So for here, I would probably say that way. And so like, I guess what it's saying is like, get on this thing's back and go along it. Probably up towards the front of it is probably what it's saying. Like, so this is something where there would probably be some sort of like pointing or gesture that comes along with it. One of the ways I started to hear this and really think about it, niade being this, is I asked the speaker one time, how would I say move over a chair? And the situation was someone was sitting somewhere and they got up and left, and then they were sitting next to someone, and then someone else came and sat in their chair, and I wanted to have them move over a chair so that that person could have their chair back. And I asked the speaker how you would say that, and they said, niade nanu, slide yourself over. So that was wild because niade was like the next one over in this case. And then nanu was what we were getting for, like qannu is what I had always heard, like sit down, and nanu would be you're already sitting, so just move yourself over. It was fun stuff. And in this case, ʻakaku is walk along it. The first one was qa conjugation because you're getting into it, and Lingít, the way you think about it is you're getting down into the boat, and then you would use the same thing for a car. A yiqaqu. We'll do one more before we take our break.
تقايخ أيد وجود تقايخ أيد وجود تقايخ أيد وجود تقايخ أيد وجود
Wugut at the end.
Yede wugut.
تقايخ أيد وجود
Yede.
تقايخ أيد وجود
Is it ch?
تقايخ أيد وجود تقايخ أيد وجود
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Maybe.
تقايخ أيد وجود
That's a yach. Chiku.
I was sharing Dukayach.
Oh,
I mean, you could be right.
تقايخ أيد وجود
yeah.
تقايخ أيد وجود
Okay. This is, in hindsight, this is not the easiest speaker to start with. This is like just go, I don't know. It's like someone's like, hey, I want to learn English. I don't know English. Let's go see a Shakespeare play. But you guys are all contributing to another project. This is going to be one of those illustrated and animated books. And we've translated and transcribed it already, but I thought it'd be fun since that's coming down the road. Just like it said, I guess, it's the thing is here, like, so he's blind and we don't really know what's talking to him. Spoiler alert, it's a bird. He went in it. Which is really interesting because you could say ayikt aka, like what is really going on is so there's people were running out of food, and so they said we're gonna go to this cache and get some more food and come back. We're gonna stack up some stuff for you here because there was a blind man there, and then he went to drink some water and he spilled it. And so he's like, well, I know the lake is right there. So he crawls to the lake, and as he's dipping the thing in, he could sense that something was there, and it talked to him, and it said, "Get in." And he thought it was a boat, and it says, "Get on its back." But this is the loon that's talking to him. Tune in next week to find out the exciting conclusion of Ḳukahaa. Anything before we go? Okay, you have 5 days until our next class. We are about the halfway point of this story. Just get as much done as you can. Try and get to the end before Monday. And just see where you're at. And as we go through, we will finish this next week. And then we'll also talk about how to keep doing some verb drilling exercises. And we'll talk about some things that we'll do for our final class meeting, which will, I think actually we have next week, and then we have 3 classes left. And then we have our final meeting Wednesday of the week after next week, whatever that date is, December, early December, whatever. Rebel without a pause and without a calendar. Gonna choose Johan.
Cheers.
Cheese.
Plus a teen.
Ay, queja.
And sheesh.
Oh.